Lesson 8-2 for pre-algebra, linear equations in two variables. So in our last lesson, we talked about functions and relations. Now we're going to talk about linear equations. So you can use functions and you can represent a function with a linear equation. So this right here is a linear equation, y equals negative x plus 8. If you were to graph it on a graph, it would be a line. That's why it's called a linear function. So if they give you this equation right here and you want to be able to graph it and you don't know how to graph it this way, all you have to do is you have to plug any number you decide, any number in for x, and you'll get an answer for y. That will give you ordered pairs or coordinates that you can graph. So let's look here. We have our function right here, y equals negative x plus 8. We need to find values for y. So we'll do that by replacing x with negative 1. If we replace x with negative 1, this becomes a positive 1 plus 8 is 9. That's what y is. When x is negative 1, y is 9, and you can write an ordered pair. These guys right here are going to be your ordered pairs, your x and your y. If we plug 0 in for x, it's going to be negative 0 plus 8. Well, 0 can't be negative, okay? It's just 0. Plus 8, you get 8. So x is 8. When x is 8, when x is 0, y is 8. This is your ordered pair. When x is 1, it becomes negative 1 plus 8, which is 7. So when x is 1, y is 7. Here's your ordered pair. Same thing for 2. You plug that in for x. It becomes negative 2 plus 8, which is 6. So when x is 2, y is 6. Here's your ordered pair. If you want to graph it on a graph, now what you'll do, I'm going to probably run out of space. Not a perfect graph. Okay. The y-axis, this is the x-axis and the y-axis. Okay, so negative 1 will graph right here, and then positive 9 is all the way up here. Okay, 0 and 8 is right here. 1 and 7, and 2 and 6. Graph this line. This right here is y equals negative x plus 8. That's that line. Okay. Next, it says find the four solutions of y equals 2x minus 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up like this. I'm going to have my x, because I'm going to replace x with something, whatever we decide. I'm going to have my equation where I substitute everything in, and then I'll be able to figure out what my y value is. When I find my y value, I'll be able to write an ordered pair. Whatever I put in for x and y becomes, that will be my ordered pair. So let's start with 0. I love starting with 0. So we're going to replace x right here with 0. Well, 2 times 0 or 0 times anything is just going to be 0. Minus 1 is negative 1. So when we put 0 in for x, y becomes negative 1. So just write your ordered pair. X is 0, y is negative 1. That's our first ordered pair. You could do negative 500 if you want, and you'll get an answer, but trying to graph negative 500 is not going to be easy. Okay, let's do 1, positive 1. Okay, we replaced x with 1. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1 is 1. So when x is 1, y is 1. We can write our ordered pair. And then 2, replace x with 2. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. So when x is 2, y is 3. And then let's do one more, 3. Replace x with 3. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5. So when x is 3, y is 5. If you want to graph it, I'm going to graph this on the same number line because I don't want to draw another one. Use your ordered pairs to graph. So we have 0, x is 0, y is negative 1. We move down 1 on the y-axis. X is 1, y is 1. X is 2, move 2 on the x-axis, and positive 3 for y, so move up 3 spaces on the y-axis. And 3 and 5. Okay, this right here this line is y equals 2x minus 1. That's that line. They don't ask you to graph it, but I do want you to be able to see what we're doing. We are figuring out how to graph this. That's eventually what you'll be doing. Okay. They might give you an example, a word problem, and this one says fancy goldfish X. So our goldfish are going to be the X coordinate. They cost $3, and regular goldfish, which is Y, costs $1. Okay, so the fancy goldfish equal X, and the regular goldfish equals Y, or our Y coordinate. It says find 4 solutions of 3x plus y equals 8 to determine how many of each type of fish Tyler can buy for $8. So we're gonna set it up like this, okay? Our X coordinate, our equation, which is 3x plus y equals 8, our y coordinate, and then our ordered pair, which is x comma y. So we get to choose what numbers we put in to this equation. But remember, x is your fancy goldfish, and y is just your regular goldfish. Okay, so let's say if he didn't buy any fancy goldfish, how many of the regular fish can he buy for $8? Plug 0 in for x. So that ends up being 0, so that means y equals 8. Because that makes sense. The regular goldfish only cost $1. He'd be able to buy 8 goldfish. So our ordered pair is 0, 8. If he didn't buy any fancy goldfish, he could get 8 regular fish. What if he bought, and you can't do negative numbers in here, it would work in the equation, but you can't buy a negative amount of fish, okay? So let's say he plugs 1 in for x. We have 3 times 1 is 3, plus y equals 8. So we have 3 here. We need to subtract it from both sides. So 8 minus 3 is 5. If you need to work that out, then work it out on another piece of paper. Okay, so if he buys 1 fancy fish, he'll be able to buy 5 regular fish, which that adds up because a fancy fish is $3 and the regular fish are 5. So $5 here and $3 here makes $8. Let's say he bought 2 fancy goldfish. We have 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 8, plus y equals 8. We have 6 over here. We need to subtract 6 from both sides, so 8 minus 6 is 2. If you bought 2 fancy goldfish, he could get 2 regular goldfish, which would probably be my choice. Because remember, 2 fancy goldfish are $3 each. Regular goldfish are $1 each. So we have $2 here and then $6 here because they're $3 each. So 6 plus 2 is 8. What if you bought 3 fancy fish? Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. We have it right here, the 8. 9 plus y equals 8. You're going to have to subtract 9 from both sides. 8 minus 9 is going to be negative 1. But you can't have a negative amount of fish. You can't buy a negative number of fish. You can't be like, walk in the fish store and be like, can I get negative 1 goldfish, please? I mean, they're not going to pay you for it. So this one, we're just going to cross that out, okay? Because he only has $8. If the fancy fish is these ones right here, they cost $3. And if they cost $3 here. If he tries to buy 3 of them, that's $9. He only has $8 right here. So you can't use this one. The only options he has are to buy 0 fancy fish and 8 regular fish, or to buy 1 fancy fish and 5 regular fish, or 2 fancy fish and 2 regular fish. Those are his options. So he only has 3 options to either buy 0 fancy fish, 1 fancy fish, or 2 fancy fish. Okay? I'm going to show you something in the book. This right here is graphing linear equations. Okay? So I showed you on this example right here where I graphed the line. I also showed you here how you can graph it. This is what they're telling you to do. So this is kind of showing us how a linear equation is the graph of a line. Okay, so here's some linear equations right here. Y equals x plus 1. And you could take this equation right here and do the same thing we did and find right here. You could put y equals x plus 1 for this equation, plug some numbers in for x, and you'll get some values for y. You'll be able to find ordered pairs, and then you'd be able to graph it. But this is what it looks like if you were to graph it. This one right here is a linear equation, y equals negative 2x. There's a negative here in front of this coefficient. That means the slope is negative. It's going to go down. This one's going up from bottom to top, or from left to right, it's going up. This one is going down from left to right. That means our slope is negative. This is going up very slightly from left to right, and this is a positive slope, y equals 1/3 x. These guys down here are nonlinear equations, meaning the graph is not a line. This is not a line, okay? And we'll talk about that later, but this is a quadratic equation. Y equals x squared plus 1. If you have an x squared in there, it's not going to be a line. It's going to look like this. This is a cubic function, y equals negative 2x cubed, okay? And this function right here, y equals 3 over x, it's gonna, you're gonna have two little graphs. It really is technically one, but it looks like two graphs right here, and these are nonlinear equations, okay? Let's look at our last example, which says, I'm gonna pull this up a little bit, so you're not there. Our last example says, graph y equals x plus 1 by plotting ordered pairs. So this is doing everything that we did in our last one, but now you actually have to graph it, okay? And I showed you before how the graphing went, so I think this one will make a little bit more sense. Now you've done a couple of them. This is our equation, y equals x plus 1. We have to put some numbers in for y, and we'll get answers, or for x, we'll get answers for y, and we'll be able to have our ordered pairs to graph our line. So let's start with -1, replace x with -1. So we have -1 plus 1, that's going to be 0. Our x is -1, our y is 0, that's our ordered pair. What if we do 0, 1, and 2, okay? Replace x with 0. 0 plus 1 is 1, so that means when x is 0, y is 1. If we replace x with 1, we have 1 plus 1, which is 2. So when x is 1, y is 2. And then replace x with 2. You have 2 plus 1, which is 3. So when x is 2, y is 3. We've got these ordered pairs. We'll graph them over here on this line. First one, -1, 0. So x, you're going to go one space in the negative direction and no spaces in the y direction. 0, 1, you're not going to move on the x-axis, but you're going to go up 1 on the y-axis. Here, you're going to move to the right or in the positive direction, one space on the x-axis, and up 2 on the y-axis. This one, you're going to start at 0, move 2 spaces to the right because it's a +2, and then 3 spaces up because it's a +3. We have these 4 points. If you wanted to graph more points, you could, but this is y equals x plus 1. Our slope goes up from left to right, so it's moving up, means it's a positive slope, which look, the number in front of x is 1, it's a +1, so this is perfect, our graph is correct. Okay, I will have your homework. If you have your book, it's on page 377. That's where it starts, and I will get it up for you.